Okay, we are on. Brother Steve Dinsdale, welcome to Let's Get Freaky podcast. I'm excited to have you here, man. How's it
Thanks ever
going?
so much. Yeah, it's taken us a while, hasn't it,
It
to
has, it has. But
schedules and everything. Yeah, it's good to be here. Yeah,
all good things come to those who wait, brother. That's the way
absolutely,
I see it.
absolutely.
We had the things happen, life gets in the way, and then I was really ill when we was meant to record. I don't normally get ill, but
Yeah,
man, I had a couple of weeks where I was bad. I had an infection in my back, and it just wiped me out. And I hated having to cancel out. I was really looking forward to talking, but thank you
yeah.
for
No, I know
coming back,
exactly what
man.
it's like. I mean, last year I was given a day to live.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my!
So yeah, that's so anybody who watches this and thinks that I'm kind of like spinning the truth, believe me, I would have had better things to do than lie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, I was diagnosed with a brain abscess September 2024. Luckily, the Hull Royal Infirmary got it in time. They said the recuperation period is going to be about 6 months to a year, but I was out of the hospital in 5 days later after the operation, and I was back to work in November.
Man,
So
respect.
it's positive attitude. That's what it's
100%,
called.
man. 100%. A
Yeah.
positive
So
energy and attitude is so powerful.
yeah,
Man, a
absolutely.
day to live, that must have been terrifying. Oh
Yeah,
my.
it's to be fair, they told me I had a day to live after the operation. That was
That's insane.
yeah, it's I was very, very lucky. I should have put the lottery on that
Yeah,
weekend.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
Doctors are great. Nurses, doctors are great, but sometimes they get it wrong,
yeah,
thankfully, because wow, incredible.
yeah. So
Man,
back fighting fit, stronger, fitter than ever. So
good man.
yeah,
Good man.
what's a serious wake up call to adjust lifestyles.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
even for what I experienced, nowhere near as bad as what you experienced, man. Wow. But I was
yeah.
like, you need to start thinking about like as you get a little bit older, you got to look after yourself a little bit more.
That's it.
That's
Yeah,
important.
I'm a member of the 12 Staple Club.
Yeah. What?
Yeah,
Man. Wow.
somewhere around there. Yeah,
Yeah. Incredible. Well, I'm so glad that you got through that, man, and you're
thank you. Yeah,
in a
it's
good place
all good.
now.
Yeah, all good. Yeah,
Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, what you do? You don't have to give any information out that you don't want to give out, obviously, but
yeah.
anything
No,
about
it's
yourself.
I spent 20 years basically boy and man at DFS. You know, the furniture place. Other other furniture retailers are available, of course, but yeah, applied my trade there. And I'm currently a branch manager of a shop in Doncaster, where we do like home improvement, DIY, trade stuff. But I've always had a massive interest in music. You know, being brought up in the 70s and 80s, you know, brought up on the likes of ELO, the Eagles, you know, Neil Diamond, all that kind of stuff. Quite by chance, I found a mate who was a mobile DJ, and I really got into DJing and you know learned a lot. Probably from like 1980. That's our dogs.
That's all right, man.
1980,
You can get involved.
1984 through to 1987. I kind of like plied the trade and learned, you know, how to kind of like read a room.
Mhm.
The window cleaners here, so the dogs are kicking off. They know I've got a part with money.
Yeah, good. You trained them well.
Yeah, and I kind of like learned how to read a room and learned the trade. Um, and I was the mobile DJ from 86, 87 professionally till like 2005. And we traveled, I was lucky to travel all over the country, loads of nightclubs, venues, met a load of like 80s stars doing it. So I was really, really lucky. And we did a residency once a month at a place called Hibblestone, which is probably about, I think it's about 11 miles from Scunthorpe, um, in between like Scunthorpe and Lincoln. It was always a good night there because it was a village, nice, lovely village, They had the disco on a Saturday night once a month. Everybody made the most of it, because it was a time where, it was 1994. The music was absolutely banging. There was lots of good house stuff and old school about, and it was always a good night. Always a good night, and it was a normal night. I was there with my mate. It was a standard night. It was July 1994. We packed the gear away at the end of the night, said our goodbyes. He headed to Lincoln Way, and I headed to Scunthorpe. And as you go out of Hibblestone, there's a road, the main road that takes you past into a village called Scorby. And there's a cement works on the left-hand side as you're travelling from Hibblestone to Scorby, and a load of like bushes and dikes to the right. There's a flyover. So I left the village hall, said our goodbyes. Probably 3 or 4 minutes from leaving the village hall. Went over the flyover. It was a really, really warm night. Like I say, it was July. It was really, really warm and muggy. Windows were down. Went over the brow of the flyover. Cement Works is on the left hand side. And about 15 seconds later, I saw what I thought was something in the road. And I thought, flipping out, someone's been run over. So I slowed down, and whatever was in the road got up with something in its hand and walked smoothly from left to right across the road in front of me into the dike and down and off. The strange thing is, what I saw was covered in fur, covered in hair. Um, Somebody said, "Oh, was it a monster?" No, I don't believe in kind of like the Bigfoot, the American Bigfoot in the UK. Um, Obviously, I've done a lot of research and stuff since then, but this thing was a living, breathing creature, as I've always called it. It had something in its hand that I couldn't see, so I'm thinking it's probably picked something up from the road. It was around about 6.5 foot tall, covered in fur. It was breathing because with it being muggy outside, I could see kind of like the breath from either the nose or the mouth. And obviously, it knew, or he knew, whatever, that I was there. Headlights were on it, and it went from left to right incredibly smoothly into the dike to the right of me. My window was down, so I'm like, what the hell is that? As I went past it, I could still see it in kind of like the wing mirror and behind me. And as it probably dropped about 3 foot into the dike and the undergrowth, and off it went. But I could see like matted, like dried grass and hay and fur, all kind of like matted together. But my brake lights were on its face, and the face had like a sheen to it. It was like a silver glowing sheen, not like a normal man would be. And the mouth was kind of like, it looked a little bit lower than what a man's mouth is. I couldn't see any ears or anything like that because the fur was like kind of like long, straggly and matted, and it made like a clicking or a whooping sound as a very low one as it stepped down. So I don't know whether it made the sound as it hit, the foot as it went down, and I was out of there. Yeah, I went straight home, laid in bed for a while, thinking either it's somebody playing a prank or yeah, or whatever. I still don't know what it was to this day.
Wow.
So that's the experience. It lasted in between 12 and 15 seconds.
Hmm.
It wasn't a major tall, like 7, 8 foot creature. It was probably 6.5 foot, but I describe it to everybody as having the build of like a weightlifter or a shot putter. The bulk was massive, I mean, I'm a big lad now, and this was probably as I am now, probably a third or a quarter bigger than what I am.
Hmm.
The bulk was huge.
Wow, man.
So yeah, and it went off into the undergrowth, and I was out of there.
I don't blame you. I mean, that is wild. I mean, I had a friend that was 6'6", and that is really tall.
Yeah,
That is big. Um, wow. I mean, that fits the description of a Bigfoot, of a
yeah,
Sasquatch.
yeah.
That is incredible. Had you experienced anything else like that before with the paranormal or anything?
Not at all. Not at all. No,
Wow. So that must have completely changed your concept of everything, like seeing something like that.
it did. It did to a degree, but kind of like life, kind of like gets in the way. And I mean, this was '94, so with the obviously the invention of the internet, things got easier to research, and I kept this to myself until 2022. I met my wife the month after I had this experience and never told her about it until 3 years ago.
Wow. Interesting.
So yeah,
I think
it's
I think that's the case with these creatures when people, especially in the UK as well, people don't want to say what they've seen, because of ridicule and stuff. 100% get
yeah,
that. We're at a point now where people can talk openly about UFOs, I would say, and people you do get the look still from some people, but I think most people can agree that there's stuff going on in the sky that we don't understand.
absolutely,
Most
yeah,
people would agree. With cryptids, it's still a little bit of a lot of people will give you that look when you say
yeah.
you've experienced something, but that is wild, man. So at the time, what did you think you were seeing? Like, because obviously, I don't know if you was into Bigfoot or anything like that at the time. How did
Not
you?
at all. No, not at all. It was you think it's somebody playing a prank or somebody in a suit. I mean, I was 24 at the time. I was pretty much a townie, and I'd never heard of like a ghillie suit or anything like that. But it definitely wasn't. Looking back now, it wasn't a ghillie suit.
Mhm.
100%. This thing was flesh and blood.
Yeah, yeah.
It was literally 20 foot in front of me. That's
Wow,
how
man.
close. That's how close it was.
Wow. I mean, I would. Bigfoot is a subject that fascinates. I would love to see that. you know. But I can imagine how scary that is as well, especially if you're not really into this sort of stuff and you see
Yeah,
something like that. They're like, what is that?
yeah,
But these things out there reported all over the UK. I've talked to many people that I trust that have seen these things, and it seems to be a growing subject. People like yourself are coming out and talking about this stuff more, which is
yeah.
great. I mean, I'm sure you know Deborah Hatswell.
I do. Yeah, I spoke to Deborah. I mean, she was the one who actually kind of like coaxed me to tell the story. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
she was the first one that I kind of like confided in 3 years ago.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and obviously her experience is one that is completely bizarre
Yeah.
and
And
unexplainable as well. Yeah,
and pretty close, I believe, to where your experience was. I mean, is it close? Was it
yeah.
close?
It's not necessarily all that close, but the amount of sightings in that area now are increasing because there was obviously there's mine, which is in between Hibblestone and Scorby. There was the lady that saw the furry creature on the A15 on the way to Lincoln, which is 5 minutes by car from where I had mine. And then there was the experience of the deer legs near Kermington Airport that were kind of like ripped from a deer in the middle of the road. So there's more and more kind of like experiences and stories out there, definitely in the area.
Hmm. Interesting, man. So where you was, I know you described it very well, where you saw this creature. Is there large forested areas around there where, you know?
It was the bushes, with it being summer, the bushes were quite, stocky, with leaves and stuff like that. Um, but literally, as it went down, the woodland is probably uh, half a mile from the road. So I'm gathering it was heading that way. But I actually went back there last year with Paul Sinclair,
Oh
who does
wow.
Truth Proof, and I've passed it numerous times in a car, but never actually got out to actually have a look at where I saw it. And I took Paul to exactly the spot where I saw it. I mean, this is 30 years later, so the location's changed a little bit. But I said to Paul when I was about 500 yards away, I says it is parallel to where that sign is for Scorby. So we went up to the sign, and where the sign is for Scorby, where I saw it in '94, there is a gap in the bush. And for me, that was kind of like the nail on the head. I said to Paul, I never knew that this gap was there. And it looks like it had been used a few times. Whether it was from the same thing or not, or deer, it could be anything. But there's a distinct gap in the bush
Mhm.
that had been used.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting, man. Now I know Paul and Deborah Hatswell. They both have a large amount of accounts, that they've recorded over the years.
yeah,
Is there any other recordings in that area that particular area? Or I know like the surrounding area there is, but
yeah.
is there any where you saw it as well?
There was. I had a similar experience in 2019,
Oh wow.
which I I say it was more kind of like audio than visual, if you know what I mean. Where the experience in '94 was exactly how in front of me, and I can replay it. If someone had the technology to put a SD card in my head and pull out what I can see, then yeah, it'd be great. But
That's probably coming soon.
yeah,
We're probably
yeah,
not too far
absolutely,
away from that. Yeah.
yeah. But I was working in Brigg, which is only a couple of miles from Hibblestone and Scorby in 2019, working in agriculture. So it was a busy time of year. It was August 2019. It was Bank Holiday Monday. And once again, it was a really, really warm day. It was 20 past 7 in the morning, and I started work at 8. So I was driving on the road from Scorby down to actually the road where I had my experience in 1994. And there's a cemetery on the left hand side. Um, as I was driving down, I thought I saw a large creature in the cemetery, go behind the building, which is actually in the cemetery. But I'm not sure. It could have been, my eyes playing up or whatever. I mean, it's the one in '94 was 100% spot on. This one, there was something that I thought had moved, right to left behind the building that's in the cemetery. But I got out of the car, the radio was on, and I left the driver's door open a little bit, and I got out, put my hand on the bonnet, and just waited to see if I was right or something would come out from the other side of the building. Nothing did, but it was kind of like deathly quiet, and it was more as if you kind of like put earplugs in or headphones. Usually, you know, 20 past 7 on an August morning, there's birds and whatever. But this was just plain deathly quiet.
Interesting. Which is something you hear a lot with Sasquatch sightings, how that everything, nature just goes quiet when these things aren't
Yeah,
around. You hear that so often with people that experience this.
but I'm not sure what it was. I could be completely wrong with that one, but it was just strange that when I got out of the car, the radio was on,
Yeah.
so I could hear that. But apart from that, it was like someone had put earplugs in.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like when you get up too fast, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, it
Yeah.
was more like that.
But I think there's something to your gut knowing that you've experienced something. I think there's something to that. Like you know that you've seen something out of the ordinary,
Yeah,
and you know that. What did you
yeah.
the thing that you saw move behind the building? How big would you say it was?
I would say it was probably 7, 8 foot.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, what I thought it was big, but
Hmm.
then doing some research, there's the woman that saw the 7 to 8 foot creature on the A15. That was recorded on a Saturday afternoon, so surely more people would have seen it because the A15 is the main road in between Scunthorpe and Lincoln.
Hmm.
So I would imagine that more people should have seen it. You
Yeah.
know, if it was genuine, absolutely.
Hmm. Well, it's like we're saying, a lot of people won't report this stuff just because
Yeah,
they don't want that look, as I say, you know. Because even when I tell people how much I'm interested in Bigfoot and stuff, from there's a lot of people that are interested in this stuff, but then there's a lot of people that are like, really?
yeah,
Isn't there just one in America? You're like, no,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
no.
Yeah, but everybody that I've spoke to on a one-to-one basis has kind of like been really kind and got what I saw.
Hmm.
There's been a couple of people like which
You don't
it's
listen to
their
them.
I always say it's their opinion. No one's saying you have to believe it.
Hmm.
Nobody's saying you have to believe me. But like I say, I'm not here for myself. I'm hoping that us talking about it, same with Liz and Deb and Paul, more people will actually, you know, get it off their chest.
Hmm.
You know,
100%.
we're in a different time. Yeah, I think things back in '70s, '80s, and '90s, I think things weren't. It's like behavior and with kids and ADHD and all this kind of stuff, mental health. You never heard of any of that. Now it's different times, and we always say it's good to talk. It really is good to
100%.
talk.
Yeah. 100%. The
Yeah,
world,
no,
the,
nobody's got to judge anybody for coming forward. Yeah,
Mhm.
I've seen it. So I'm not going to bull anybody.
Hmm.
I'll if anybody comes to me and says, "Steve, I've seen this. Can you help me?" Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, I will.
Hmm. Once you've had an experience like that, there's no going back. Like obviously now you know that anything is possible, you know?
Yeah,
I've not seen a Bigfoot yet. I'd love to. But I've had a lot of paranormal experiences that I
yeah,
know are 100%. And there's no doubt in my mind that these things are out there. And there's a lot of things out there that we just can't explain.
yeah,
100%.
absolutely. Yeah, fully agree. Yeah,
100%, man.
I used to kind of like knock around with a paranormal team about 12 years ago, and I've seen some stuff as well that I just can't explain.
Let's go,
Some
brother. What have you
some
seen, man?
really bizarre stuff. I think the one was there was a pub in Scunthorpe. I won't name it. It's not there anymore. And the landlady said that she'd been experiencing bizarre stuff happening in the pub. Luckily, the people who I was around with, they knew exactly what they was doing. That they weren't tin pot, most haunted wannabes. These were like professional as they can be. And we did a Ouija board in the pub, and it went round the board, and the landlady says this name that it's spelling out. She says, look behind you, and the name that it spelled out was on a football shirt behind us in the on the wall. That was incredibly bizarre.
Yeah.
Um, we did a pub just outside of Brigg. Um, we saw a like a blind on a door. The old pulley blinds with the weight on the bottom. We saw it go move up. It stayed there for about 8 9 seconds. They went slowly just back down again. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we had in our other house in Scunthorpe, we had some really bizarre stuff happening in that house. Hence why I got in touch with this paranormal team, and I kind of like got interested in the paranormal and researching what I'd seen, back in 1994. But mine and my wife's bedroom had a latch on the door that you had to kind of like press, and the latch would pop up and the door would open. 3 or 4 times in the middle of the night, the door would click open and literally bang against the wall, in the middle of the night, and that happened quite a few times.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's it wasn't the wind or anything like that, so we don't know what it was, but I don't think it was there to harm us. But I'm still sat on the fence as regards kind of like the paranormal stuff.
Hmm.
You know,
Do
I'd like
you,
to know more.
do you think that's connected to cryptids and stuff? Do you think that the two? I know the subjects they get connected because
Yeah,
it's unknown and that all gets put in the same bracket. Do you think these things are supernatural, or do you think they're a flesh and blood creature?
I think the flesh and blood. To be honest with you, I can only go on my experience.
Hmm.
I don't think, like I say, it's my opinion. Other people, I respect anybody's opinion, but I just think what I saw was a living, breathing flesh and blood creature.
Hmm.
If people have seen Bigfoots and UFOs at the same time, there could be a connection. Absolutely. But I think we need to know more.
Yeah,
We need more evidence. Whether, as we know, governments have got some and are hiding it from us, quite possibly.
yeah. I think so. I think they must know more. I
Yeah,
mean, I know none of us really trust our government, obviously, for obvious reasons.
absolutely, absolutely. Any government.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but especially in the USA, where there's so many stories like was it the St. Helens fires or the forest fires,
Hmm.
where a lot of people were told to keep quiet about what they saw, but there's a lot of people that's come forward and says what they saw wasn't humans that had been burnt; it was creatures.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I believe that obviously the governments have got more on that than what we know about. Absolutely.
yeah. UFOs and all cryptids, man. Yeah, 100%. Going back to your sighting in 1994, did you get? I know you said you saw the face.
Yeah.
Did you see like the eyes and
Yes.
stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
What were they like?
The eyes. A lot of people have said, "Oh, these things." The eyes were incredibly shiny. There weren't like they say in a lot of these videos. Oh, there's some red eyes. Obviously, my brake lights were on the eyes, so it was a mixture of like black and red on the eyes, but the eyes were really kind of like deep set, and but they had the red and black
Hmm.
tinge to them. Yeah, they weren't glowing. Even when I went over the brow of the hill, as it turned, it the eyes weren't kind of like night. The shine, the eyes shine. They were just kind of like normal eyes, but they were. Well, my eyes are here. This things would have been probably there.
Yeah, so really wide apart.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow, which again you hear a lot
yeah.
because
The head was a lot bigger than. I mean, I've got a fat head, but this was a big, yeah, a
wow,
big head as well. Yeah.
difficult to say. But would you say they were like human-like or the eyes, or would you?
I would say so. Yeah, I would say there were more 60-40. If you went and had a look at like a chimpanzee or gorilla, I would say that the more 60% human, 40%, you know, um, chimpanzee or gorilla. Yeah,
Hmm. Was
yeah.
was the
I'm not sure. Everything kind of like happened so fast. Yeah, even though it was like 12 or 15 seconds,
hmm.
it seemed to just be over in like an instant. But it was the fluidity of the movement.
Hmm.
It wasn't like a. I mean, if I got up, I'd be up and I'll be back or whatever. But this was like all in kind of like one movement as it
Interesting.
was. Yeah, there was there was absolutely no kind of like jerks to the movement. It was just straight up,
Yeah.
straight up and gone.
Is there any images out? Because there's a lot of images of Bigfoot and pictures and Patterson Gimlin film, and there's some great videos and pictures out there that I think are legit.
Yeah,
I know that
yeah.
sometimes you can be on the fence with that, but is there any pictures that you've seen that sort of fits what you saw? Is there any out there that are
Yeah,
close?
there is. Yeah, yeah. I've actually sent them over to Liz Coleman. as well. So I mean, I can send them to you as well after
Oh,
this
that'd be great.
this
Yeah,
chat.
thank you,
Yeah,
mate.
absolutely. I mean, because I went on Google Maps and took a screenshot of the actual road where I saw it. I kind of like superimposed the drawing onto the road, as it were, and send that over. So I'll do that a bit
Oh,
later on
thank you.
today. Yeah.
Am I okay to share that on social
Yeah,
media and
absolutely.
stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much, man. Well, we've got to mention Liz Coleman. You just mentioned Liz Coleman there.
Yeah.
Awesome lady. Awesome
She
lady.
is. Yeah, she's doing good work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a
100%.
it was a pleasure to meet her. She came over here. Blimey, it must have been February time.
Mm-hmm.
We went out into the field and I showed her exactly where the experiences happened, and she was kind of like taken back as well. You know how things kind of like fitted together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to her documentary. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. We're both in that. That's she connected me to you, which is absolutely
Yeah,
amazing. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's coming soon, I believe. But
yeah. I spoke to her yesterday. I think about another week or 10 days or
oh
so.
wow,
She's pretty
very
much
soon.
there. Yeah, I mean, she's got people portraying us in the videos. I'm like, my word,
They better be looking
amazing.
good. They better be looking good.
Oh, yeah, maybe good looking chap, ruggedly handsome. But no, she was a pleasure to have to take out. Yeah,
Hmm. Oh, a lovely lady, and she's going to go
yeah,
far as well. You know, she's very dedicated,
yeah,
and it's going to be great to see. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah, I mean, like I say, I took Paul Sinclair to the place last year as well and talked him through everything, and that's going to be on the Wolflands 2 Amazon documentary that he's doing.
Awesome,
So
awesome,
yeah,
man.
have you seen Wolflands?
I haven't. I'm going to write that down. I'll check it out.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know Paul Sinclair. I'd love to get him on the show sometime as well. He's an awesome
Paul,
dude.
yeah, he's absolutely spot on. He's another one like Liz and Deb,
Hmm.
genuine, just nice people,
Hmm.
who want to do the best. But yeah, Wolflands, I watched it last year and watched it again a couple of nights ago, and it's one of those great documentaries where he's out there with us, and we're telling him about what we experienced. But the way he does it, it's a genuine reenactments and genuine, people talking about it. And it's a great documentary because it kind of like leaves you with more questions than answers. I like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's something that you can talk about once it's finished. It's not telling you the answers. It's up to you to make your own mind up about it. And I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's how a documentary should be.
yeah, for sure, man. Where can people see that? Is that on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. Yeah, I think you can buy the DVDs and streaming on Amazon.
Awesome.
But yeah, he sent us a copy last year, and it's fascinating. There's
Oh,
some
that's brilliant.
really, really bizarre stories on there.
Yeah.
Cryptid and UFOs as well. And once again, like it seems to be that genuine people that's come forward, and
Hmm.
their stories are fascinating stories.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, this community, the paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, it's a close community. Yeah, we've
Yeah,
had these experiences, and we just want to share and just want to learn more. Ultimately, that is what we want to do: is just learn more. We're not crazy. We've seen these
no,
things,
absolutely not.
and
Yeah, I
and
mean,
that is why we're yeah.
yeah, it's like I said at the beginning of the chat. I've had so much happen in the past year that why would I waste my time doing this? I've got other things, that I could be doing. So, I want by doing this, I want people to come forward.
Hmm.
And going back to UFOs, me and my daughter actually saw one in as we was going to Tenerife in 1999.
Wow.
Yeah, it was another. We were just literally. It was the I don't know whether you remember, it was 1999. I think it was like the big eclipse that was going to
Yes.
happen.
Yes.
And we flew into Tenerife a couple of days before the eclipse. And as we was preparing to land, my daughter, who was in the front, in the aeroplane in front of me, said, "Dad, what's that?" Well, we looked out the window, and everybody on the aeroplane was kind of like looking, and the air stewardesses are like, you need to sit down because we're coming into land. And we was looking, and there was this silver object zipping along the side of the plane, and over 100 people saw that. It was a silver glowing object that kind of like just whooshed at the side of the plane, and we could see it out the window. I get goosebumps talking about this now.
Wow. Yeah.
And the once we got settled in the hotel, and a couple of days later, we got a local paper, and it said UFO spotted over Tenerife, and it was that.
Wow, man.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, that was really yeah, good timing,
Yeah, for
as it were.
sure.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh,
think it was sort of like following the plane, like actually trying to connect with a
I
plane or
have no idea what the speed that it was going, man. It was going some rate of knots. It was,
interesting. How
but
big would you
yeah,
say that was? How I know that's difficult in the sky, but how big roughly if you had to compare it?
a lot smaller than the aeroplane. A lot smaller. It was the days before drones and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So if you imagine a what was it 737? I think we was on it. Probably less than half the size of that. But it was motoring, and it was silver. Whether it was glowing or whether it was the sun or not, I don't know. But it was going some rate of knots. That
Wow,
was
that's
that
so
was
cool.
that was fantastic to see.
Yeah. And
And
it's also
I was happy that other people was looking back, other people have seen it as well, not
yeah.
just me.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So it's so cool. It's obviously cool when you have an experience yourself. Scary, but cool. But when someone else is with you as well, that sort of like
Yeah,
confirms you're like, yeah, 100%.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. It was like when I went out with Paul last year to where I had my experience in '94. Seeing the gap in the bush. You know, and there was a path, and I described it exactly as it went across the road. It dropped down onto the path, and then down again into into kind of like the bog
Mhm.
that run at the side of the road, and I kind of like nicknamed him the Brigg Bogman. I don't know why, and it's kind of like stuck,
Brigg
to be honest
Bogman.
with you. And it was going back there last year with Paul. I mean, it's maybe sounds strange, but it was actually quite emotional going back there because I kind of like got confirmation that what I saw happened.
Hmm.
With the throughfare into the bushes. It was nice to go back, but it was surreal as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A cool experience, man. Really
yeah.
cool. What a difficult question again. But what do you think these creatures are?
I don't know. Doing our research, as we all have. Uh, there's that many stories in there about the wood woes, the green man, and for centuries, people living in the woods.
Well,
Are these descendants of these people living in the woods? Because I would imagine that in the Lincolnshire area, there's a lot of land that could be used for eating and stuff like that, and there's plenty of you know water and stuff like that. But it's like I said to Paul, we're all kind of like focused on the ground. What happens if they're in the trees?
hmm.
Do we need to start looking up there? Because the amount of obviously woodland which is in Lincolnshire, but there's also like the disused railway tunnels and stuff like that. The stuff, the railway tunnels from the docks and like to the steelworks. You know, they could use those as shelter.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know honestly what they are. They could be descendants of the woodland people from centuries ago, but the amount of people through the centuries that have documented these, it can't just be a one-off.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
I
for sure.
I don't know, but what I saw was semi-human, and it was semi something else.
Hmm.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
these things seem to have abilities that we just can't maybe it was abilities that we had back in the day, before we
Yeah,
evolved, and maybe they're just like another branch of what we could have been. Who knows? But they clearly seem to have abilities. If they don't want to be found, they're very hard to be found. That's for
yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like they've got like a sixth sense how to hide and camouflage themselves really, really well.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, man.
absolutely. But I think it was just looking back, looking back, I thought probably 10 years ago it was the wrong place at the wrong time. But now I think it was the right place at the right time.
Hmm. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%, man. It's a part of your journey. It's put you on this path that you're on now, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I think it has because it's certainly given me an interest in the unknown, not just cryptids and not just UFOs, but everything.
Yeah.
There's that many people that's had so many experiences. There has to be something to it.
Hmm. a hundred
Yeah,
percent, man.
yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Interesting, brother. Have you had any other experiences that kind of stand out? That sort of.
Um, Nothing really that springs to mind. They're kind of like paranormal or anything like that. But I have, um, like I say, I was working with a paranormal team, and I don't know how it happened, but I've been out a few times where I've kind of like said stuff, and people have said, "Blimey, I know who you're talking about, but I don't know where it comes from." I've done that quite a few times, but I don't know what that is or how it happens. I mean, I've known my wife 30. I mean, we just celebrated our 29th wedding anniversary last month, so yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yeah. So we met in 1994, and her family is like a steel working family, massive family. She had or she's got, and there was one Sunday a couple of years ago, and I was cooking in our kitchen, and she came through and doing what she usually does. Is tea ready? Because she don't cook, bless her. She's not a very good cook. She'll kill me for saying that. And I kind of like reeled off all these names, and she said, "Oh, you're talking about my family," but she's never discussed that part of her family. And for literally 15, 20 minutes, I was spooling out everything. And she said, "This is all my family and everything that's happened to my family." And
Whoa.
I don't know how that happens. I've done it a few times
Where does
where
this information come from? It's
I have
just
no
there.
idea. No idea. People go on about like the third eye and stuff like that, but it seems to be where I kind of like concentrate. I've done some readings for Deborah Hatswell and her followers on YouTube, and the messages that I thought I got, a lot of people kind of like resonated with that, but where it comes from, I don't know. You know, these people who say that the mediums and stuff like that, yeah, great, but it's happened to me, and I don't know how it
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. Interesting, man. I mean, they say
Uh,
we've all got these abilities, but some of us are just tuned in a little bit more, whatever, for whatever reason, like
yeah,
naturally.
I mean the funniest one was we was at a house that one of my schoolmates um, lived in. We went round and just had a yeah had a chat and a few laughs because we've not seen him for ages. And his son sat next to me, bless him. And for some reason, I said to him, "Did you have a budgie?" It's complete. I know it's bizarre. I said, "Do you have a budgie?" And he said, "Yeah." I says, "Was it a yellow one?" And he went, "Yeah." I says, "Was it a character from The Simpsons?" I said, "Yeah, it was Bart the Budgie." I said to the kid, I shouldn't have done. I pointed at him. I said, "You killed it." And he Lee looked, and his son said, "Yeah, I did."
Oh my,
That is 100% the God's honest truth.
that is wild. And
That
you
is,
and that just came like as a download or whatever it was.
that was the first time it ever happened. Was that?
Oh, can you? How old did you when that happened? Was that when you was a kid or?
Oh, no, no, I was 10 years ago,
Oh,
eight years
okay.
ago, something like that. Yeah, probably 10 years ago.
That is. I mean, I've got to know. How did he kill the bird? I
I,
feel like I
I,
need
I
to know.
yeah, I think he'd either given it something that got stuck in its throat or something.
Okay, so he's not a psycho.
So,
It wasn't a.
it wasn't a, yeah, it wasn't a necking.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Oh
yeah,
my.
there's a lot of stuff out there that's strange,
Did you?
and yeah,
Yeah, man. Did you see that as like could you see that in your mind's eye of
no, no, not at all. It was just something that kind of like came. It's like a portion of your brain is set aside for that.
yeah.
If you know what I mean, it's really really bizarre.
And you're not even
But
in that space trying to do that. It just comes.
it just comes, yeah, it just comes. I mean, I did it a couple of months ago. I mean, I had my brain operation in September last year, and me and the wife was sat in the living room watching telly. It must have been about February, March this year. And I described a woman to her, and my wife said, "Yeah, that's my Auntie Audrey." She says, "You've not done that since your brain operation." I says, "Yeah, I know." That says, "Oh, that's the first one."
Man.
So, yeah, but the dogs knew as well. We've got two dogs, and they kind of like at the same time, kind of like shot up at the same time, which is strange.
Yeah,
But they
yeah.
say that animals pick up on other vibrations and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, man. 100% dogs and cats, they just do that thing where they
Oh
just
yeah,
look
yeah.
into the corner and they're seeing something. There's something
Yeah,
there.
they follow things. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, man. I mean, I've been in my forest a couple of times where the dog. There was one time when there was me and all the family, and my dog just freaked out at something in the forest.
yeah,
I don't know what it was, but he's not scared of anything. This dog, he'll run at any other dogs or bulls even.
yeah,
He's not scared. But something freaked him out massively, where I had to physically pick him up and walk through the path that we
yeah,
was on. As soon as I put him down, he was fine, was past that area. And I said to the wife, I've got to go back because there must be something there, whether it's a smell, something he can smell or
yeah,
something. And maybe there was, but it felt like that he had seen something. That's how it felt.
yeah,
Because he was like reacting to it, like stepping back, looking. And he did it another time when my wife was walking him. And it's very out of character. And it's a route that we go on all the time. Like there's loads of different routes you can go, but we always go these routes. So he knows where he is and stuff.
yeah,
It's very strange, man, how they do that.
yeah. Bizarre,
And
absolutely bizarre.
there is a devil dog law in my forest. So I
Is
kind of
that?
put it down
Yeah,
to that maybe. I can't say for sure, but that sort of yeah, man.
yeah,
Yeah, but you're right. There's a lot out there that we just don't understand, and
yeah. Absolutely.
the more people like yourself that come out and talk about it, the better, really.
Yeah, the more answers we're going to get. Absolutely. Yeah.
100%, man. You've got to tell us as well about Sunday Sizzler. I know that's
Oh,
your
I kind of got into after I finished DJing, got into community radio, and I was with a station for a couple of years, and me and my best mate decided to set up our own internet station. But I left there beginning of this year, I think, with everything that was going on as regards trying to get better and stuff like that. I just wanted a little bit of time out and a new challenge. And um, a friend of mine says, why don't you do Steel FM in Scunthorpe? I thought about it a few times, and I got in touch. And yeah, I do the Sunday show in between 10 and 12 on a Sunday morning. The Sizzler, yeah, where it's basically anything can happen. It's 95% music, very little waffling. from me. It's all about the music, and now we get so many people asking for requests and dedications and stuff. But ideally, that's on uh, it's on Facebook, Steel FM. It's www.steelfm.org. You can listen to it on Alexa, but I'm looking because there's a free slot on a Sunday night for an hour. And I'm thinking over the next couple of months is putting together like a paranormal show on a Sunday.
Yes.
So ideally, it'd be nice if people could get in touch, if they've got any stories like I have, and we can get them on the phone for a chat.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
100. That would be great.
that's what I'm aiming for over the next couple of months.
Yeah. Well, that sounds cool, man. Well, I'll put links in the show description so people can
Thank you.
find you and reach out. Awesome stuff, man. I've just got another question.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do this very often. Like I'm coming to the end, and then I'll think I've got to ask this because I'll be thinking about it. So that
yeah,
second possible
yeah.
Bigfoot sighting. I know, like you're unsure because you can't definitely say for sure. Not like your first encounter that was very
Yeah,
clear, undeniable. This one was sort of you're not sure.
not sure at all. Yeah,
Did you see what the was it like a shadow or did you see like a solid form?
it was a solid form, but it was a dark, tall, solid form.
Hmm.
I know they go on about like the Wolfman or the Dogman. This was a completely different shape to what I saw in '94. It was hell of a lot taller and hell of a lot thinner as well. But I don't know whether it was something, as we say, in spirit world that was moving or something. I don't know whether I attract this kind of stuff or not. I don't know, but
I think some people do. That's for sure.
yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
But
Never
I
mind, look.
I also think as well, and this is just my opinion, that people that have these experiences that are like mind blowing and life changing, I do think someone like that has more chance of seeing something else for whatever reason that is, whether that's just because you're more open once you have that undeniable
Mm,
experience. I think
yeah,
chances are you're going to see more because you talk to someone that has a paranormal experiences, 99% of the time they've had a lot more
yeah,
because I think because they're open to it. And I
yeah,
think there's
absolutely.
something to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, there's been a couple of people that's investigated the cemetery at Scorby, and they've had like some weird and wonderful experiences where stuff's happened in the area around the cemetery. There is quite a few videos on YouTube where people have done investigations, and there's been quite a bit of stuff that's been picked up.
Interesting.
So it would be interesting to actually go back there for a night or so, probably July, August this year, and see what happens.
Let's go.
Maybe it's something that we should do actually.
Yeah, man, I'll
Yeah,
come down. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, pulling an all nighter. Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
but
you mentioned
yeah, yeah,
Dogman, and they obviously they get linked very like the similarities are there between Dogman and Bigfoot, but they
yeah.
seem to be two separate things. Who knows? But they seem to be. But Dogman definitely gets connected with like cemeteries and the supernatural a little bit more. Would you
Right.
say?
I don't know. I don't know, but with you saying that, quite
Yeah,
possible.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think it'd be nice to go back there and do something because, like I said, when I went with Paul last year, there's something that's still there. There's
Hmm.
there's something that's still moving through the bushes. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a date for the diary.
100.
Definitely.
Let's do it,
Yeah,
man. Let's do it.
yeah,
Ah, man. Do you think there's a lot of these creatures out there, or do you think that they're very rare and there's not many? What are your thoughts on that? I know that's a difficult question because again, we don't know.
yeah. I don't know, but they're not just spotted in Lincolnshire. They're spotted all over.
Hmm.
Whether it's somebody who wants 15 minutes of fame or not, I don't know. But doing the research and proper research, not just asking AI or asking Google, that is actually going into libraries, and looking at books that were written, decades and centuries ago. This has been going on for a long, long time. It really has. So there has to be more than kind of like one tribe. I would say, you know, you know, do they have their own way of communication, contact, mating, that kind of stuff?
Hmm.
Because if these things are still genuinely here, and I believe that obviously with what I saw obviously they are mating,
Hmm.
but are they mating with different tribes?
Hmm.
I would hope so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, maybe
yeah,
like
yeah.
like Hills of Eyes or something like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, well,
Oh man, yeah.
there's a lot of questions, and I think it's nice to finish on a question like you've just said.
Hmm. Hmm.
Are there any more? What is their kind of like lifestyle? How do they stay hidden?
Hmm.
The diet, all that kind of stuff. There's
Yeah.
a lot of questions.
Yeah, man. And hopefully we get to the answers one day.
One
Hopefully.
day
I don't
would
know
be
if we ever
nice.
will, but we're going to try. That's for sure.
Yeah,
One last
be
question
nice.
before I let you go, man. I know we've gone over our time, and I really appreciate your time today.
No, no
Thank you
worries.
so much. Did the second creature that you saw, did you get like the shape of the head, or was
Yes, yeah, yeah. It was more like you say, and I hate to say it because I don't want people thinking, oh, he's just saying it. It was more like a wolf.
interesting?
It was more pointy than bulky, and
Interesting.
that's the genuine God's honest truth. It was more tall. I would say jointy.
Hmm.
If I thought about it, I mean, this was like 3 or 4 seconds. It was more. You could see, like a pointy elbow or a pointy bit. Whereas what I saw in '94 it was just bulk.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was genuine fur and bulk and muscle and movement. It breathed. You can see the perspiration from the nose or the mouth
Hmm.
as it was breathing. So yeah, I
Man,
I think that the one in 2019 was something completely different. Like
interesting.
I say, whether it was spirit, whether it was Dogman, I don't know.
Did you see like a snout? Sorry.
I wouldn't say a snout, but I would say some. I would say, like I say, pointy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't really describe anything but something really, really dark and tall.
Interesting.
But
Man.
they go on about. I mean, one of the legends is like the Slender Man. When you look
Hmm.
into that,
Hmm.
it was very, very similar build to something like that.
Interesting.
Thin and jerky and pointy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Without sounding absolutely, you know, out there.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It was what it was.
Hmm. Well, Steve, thank you
So,
so much, man, for
no,
sharing
pleasure,
sharing your
pleasure.
time, sharing your experiences. Very interesting. I hope this is the first of many conversations, brother.
Hope so. Yeah,
Thank
it'd
you
be
very
nice.
much.
Yeah,
I'm going to come down. We're going to camp out. I say this now, but I'll be very scared at the time. We'll camp out in the graveyard
yeah, yeah. It'd be nice to do that.
and see
Yeah,
if we can experience anything. But yeah, man, can
yeah.
you tell the listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook. Also on, I'll give Tommy my. You got my email,
Yep.
so you're quite welcome to put that on there, and people can get in touch from that. But yeah, Steve Dinsdale on Facebook, Steel FM, or Tommy will put the email on the description, and I'll send you the drawings as well
Thank you. Thank
a little
you.
bit later on.
I'll
So
share them if that's
yeah,
okay.
I'm
Awesome.
just really hoping that other people will now come forward.
Hmm.
It's not something that anybody in this community is going to ridicule.
Hmm.
You know,
100%,
it,
man.
you
100%.
know, we're all striving for the answer. I think
Hmm.
the genuine people out there are striving for some kind of like truth,
Yeah.
and just to find out what on earth is going on.
100%, man. Thank you so much, brother.
No, pleasure,
And
pleasure.
I'm looking forward to chatting again soon. Thank you very
Yeah,
much, man.
yeah, me too. Yeah, cheers, mate.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, make sure you share it where you can. That's a great way to support the show. And we'll be back very soon for more freaky conversations. In the meantime, stay safe and keep it freaky. Bye for now. Thank you very much, sir.
Our pleasure. Pleasure.